to another episode of Let's Talk About It with Latesha. I am excited to have another great topic I would like to discuss with you. Obviously, of course, talking about the book, So You Think You Want to Be a Boss. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate all the support that we've gotten thus far. We are absolutely in business because of people like you, and we do not take it for granted. So today I want to talk about what I believe is a very, very important topic, and that is goal setting. You know, being in business, and I think just anything in life, you definitely need to make sure that you set goals. To me, when you set goals, it definitely makes you feel really, really good to start thinking about, what you want to accomplish in life, whether it's on a personal level or in this particular example, on a business level. Setting those goals makes sure that you're thinking above and beyond about your presence. You're thinking above and beyond of what you want to see your life look like. And not only for yourself, but also possibly for your family, to leave a legacy, whatever your reasons are. But setting a goal is very, very important in that process, because what it does is it gives you something to focus on, and it also gives you something to look forward to. The thing that I have understood and realized a lot of times is that a lot of people, they may set goals, but they really don't understand how to set goals. Those are two different things. So while your goal may be, I want to be debt free. Well, that is great, but how do you become debt free? So in this episode, we're going to talk real quickly on how to set what I like to refer to as SMART goals. Now, I am not the genius behind the acronym SMART. This actually was looked up and found, and is also actually in my book. And I can't remember the person offhand or the people who created the acronym, but it's definitely a great way for you to stay on task. And again, that is the acronym SMART, S-M-A-R-T. So S actually is for specific. M is going to be for measurable. A is attainable. R is realistic. And T is timely. Again, SMART is S. S is in specific. M is measurable. A is attainable. R is realistic. And T is timely. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, the first letter, which is S, which we would say is SMART, it sounds very, very easy and something that you can relate to. Although it sounds like that, honestly, it really isn't. So SMART just simply means, let's go back to the example we said earlier. I want to be debt free. Well, that's not actually really a SMART goal, because there is nothing to relate to that. So we can start there, but we can't finish there. So we're going to start by saying, okay, I want to be debt free. In this example, we can say, all right, that's a SMART goal. Who doesn't want to be debt free? Who doesn't want to have an opportunity in which they're not worrying about having to pay a credit card debt, or having to pay a mortgage, or having to pay a car payment? Most people would love to be able to say, you know what, I am debt free. So we can just go ahead and say, we'll use that for the sake of this example, that our goal is to be debt free. Now, that's the S that we're going to relate that to. How are we going to measure how to make sure that this goal is something that we can do? What do you do to set that? Do you set it in terms of a time frame? Do you set it in terms of different steps you're going to take to make this goal? How do you set that? Again, relating back to the acronym SMART, you have to definitely use the second letter, which is M, measurable. In this example, let's just say I am going to measure me being debt free by me simply being debt free. Sounds simple enough? Not necessarily. So this example, let's say for you to be debt free, you need to pay off all of your credit cards and your car payments. Those are the only debts you have, and that totals $10,000. So to measure, in this example, you being debt free, you now have to take that $10,000 balance all the way down to zero. So now we have our S, which is the goal is to be debt free. We have our M, which is to be able to measure it, and that is in terms of taking that debt of $10,000 down to zero. Now we have the next letter, A, attainable. Now, what does attainable mean? That just simply means is that, do you currently have the tools that it will take for you to take that debt all the way from 10,000 to zero? You may be asking, well, what do you mean by tools? Great question. I'm glad you asked. Well, part of what's in this book as well is talking about understanding your budget and your financing. So because we're talking specifically about being able to pay off your debt, we need to consider, well, how do we do that? Looking at what is your current income that you have right now. If you are like most people, your income is pretty much all gone to sustain your household, to pay your regular bills, and to at least make a payment on these credit cards that we're trying to pay off. So now knowing that your number is $10,000 that you will need to pay this debt off, now we can realistically look at two things. One, is the current income I am making allowing me enough to have money left over to pay these credit cards off? And two, if it is not, what is it that I need to do to be able to increase my income to get $10,000? Does that mean that you need to get a part-time job? Does that mean that you need to now look at your current income source and expenses and be able to lower those to free up some income so you can pay some debts off? Does that mean that if you are a spouse, you need to have a conversation with your spouse to see if now that we normally take, let's say 2 or 3 family vacations, now we need to only take 1 or 2. Whatever that looks like, that's how you are able to measure whether it's attainable or not. So the R is realistic. Now, we just talked about S being the SMART, which is the goal of being debt-free. We just talked about M being measurable. We know our number is 10,000. We just talk about A being attainable. We are asked that, okay, do we have the resources to attain these goals? And R being realistic. So going back to the attainable goals, realistic in this particular example is, does it make sense or would it be realistic for you to be able to go and get a part-time job? I don't know. Again, that's a question that you would have to ask yourself. And if you are a married couple, to have a conversation with your spouse, because that may not be realistic for you. And if it's not realistic, then it doesn't mean that you have to actually change your goal. It just simply might mean that you now need to take that goal and make it a little bit longer. So maybe $10,000 is the number that you want to pay, and you said, I want to pay it off in the next 3 years. Well, maybe now, because realistically you cannot get a part-time job, that next 3 years is now 5 years or 10 years. Again, it sounds long, but at the end of the day, it is about having a conversation so you can be able to make the choices so that you can be debt-free. And the last thing is time specific. Again, what we just talked about. We want to pay off this $10,000. For the sake of this example, we've decided we want to pay it off in 3 years. So our SMART goal is to be debt-free. That's the S. The M is measurable, how we are going to measure that. Our debt is 10,000. We want to get that down to 0. The A is attainable. We want to be able to figure out, how do we pay this debt off? Whether that is to get a part-time job, whether that's to lower the current debt that we have. R is realistic. Do I have the opportunity in terms of time, as well as support in order for me to get a second job? Or would it make more sense for me to be able to lower or extend, in this example, my time frame, which the T is for timely, from 3 years to 5 years? Again, the biggest goal I can tell you at the end of the day is to be able to set it first and foremost, but to set something that is going to make sense. There is nothing more gratifying than being able to set a goal and to not only to meet it, but to be able to exceed it. But in order to put yourself in that situation, you got to be smart. You got to be realistic about it. At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we all have debt. We all are going to have debt until we leave this earth. It's all about being able to manage that debt and not let it manage you. So again, please make sure to get my book, So You Think You Want to Be a Boss. We go a lot more in detail about being able to set goals and, more importantly, to utilize the acronym SMART. I thank you so much once again for tuning in for another episode of Let's Talk About It with Latesha. Please remember to subscribe. Thank you so much again. Have a wonderful day.